My name is Hans Laessoe, and for this session of the Risk Awareness Week 2022, I'd like to talk about how you can leverage the risk register you probably already have as a valuable performance tool. It can be done. Now, looking at the agenda, I'd like to take a brief look at the current state of enterprise risk management as I have seen it throughout most companies, or a lot of companies throughout the world. Then I'd like to look at what we need or want to do or to achieve to make this truly valuable. And lastly, how can we meet this aspiration? What do we need to do in order to get more value out of the ERM that we're doing? If you ask people around, risk managers in particular, and ask them how much value they think the ERM is to their management team, responses are pretty deplorable. They're not that good. And that, of course, is unsatisfactory. Looking at what we have already, many companies have systematic approaches to enterprise risk management. There's a defined process that's executed with a defined frequency, could be quarterly, half year, whatever. They collect data in a database or a system, some even an Excel spreadsheet, doesn't matter, but they collect data systematically and they provide a report, which actually drives actions taken on specific risks. However, all of this is standalone. It's an add-on process, it's an add-on database, it's an add-on term that is used, and the risk report is a report which is discussed in its own right, not linked to anything. And basically, the approach is not very helpful to management, or rather often it is not. First of all, it's risk-focused, which is good when you're a risk manager, but it's bad when you're a general manager, because general managers look at performance. And if you do like this with your hands and say your right hand is your performance hand and your left hand is your risk hand, and you focus very hard on your risk hand, you can see the performance hand, but it's not very clear, and vice versa the other way around. And you need to fold your hands. You need to make sure that your risk management is linked to performance. And what I've also seen that the data that you have, the insights that you have in your enterprise risk management is generally not applied when you do business decisions. Cynically, it can be, and actually has been described as enterprise list management, because all of the focus is on managing the risks that are on the list, and that's it. Now, this is not a very good state to be in, but you have a risk register. If it looks like this, where likelihood and impact are defined as red, amber, green, or high, medium, low, or very high to very low, or 1 to 5, or ABCs, or anything like that, I can't help you. Sorry, we're way too far behind. You need, before you even get started, to define the likelihood as a percentage or a frequency. It can be a frequency that is higher than 1 or lower than 1 within whatever time frame you're working with, or a likelihood that it will happen. You will need to define that. And you will also need to define the expected impact in some way or form. It could be money if it's a financial issue, a lot of them are, but it could also be CO2 emission, it could be safety, it could be other kinds of metrics that you have for which you measure performance and measure the impact of risks. However, the good news is that most of the risk register I've seen over the past couple of years actually do use quantifiable figures. They have a likelihood, which is a percentage or a frequency. And they have an impact, which is the expected impact of the described scenario. Now, if you look at the risk 1002, for instance, the second one about vendor disruption, a 20% likelihood that it'll cost us 96 million. Where's the 96 coming out of? Well, it comes out of the description. A key vendor is unable to deliver and halts manufacturing for 4 weeks. The halting manufacturing for 4 weeks, based on the capacity we have, leads to a loss of revenue, which again leads to a loss of profit of 96 million. Somebody is responsible